Now that you are more familiar with fields, it's time to see how they can be used in your research on a Coveo interface. Indeed, a Coveo interface gives you the flexibility to either ask for items whose content match a series of keywords, or whose metadata field names and value match a specific criteria. You heard right. It is possible to find items using only metadata. In fact, you already learned one way of doing it. By selecting a facet like this, you are asking for all the items who have a field that is called type with a value that is equal to message. Don't believe me? Let's see what we can do about this. We will now explore how we can visualize all the fields available on any item inside a Coveo interface. To do that, we will use something called the Debug Panel. The Debug Panel is a tool that allows you to see many details about an item, including all of its fields that you can use inside the interface. To enable the Debug Panel, if you are using Windows, hold the Alt key on your keyboard, and if you're using a Mac or Linux, hold the Option key on your keyboard. Then, while holding the Alt or the Option key, depending on which operating system you're using, double-click on any item like this. This is the Debug Panel. Like mentioned, there's a lot of information available in here. And what is results right now are the fields. So you can collapse the results section like this to make sure you only see the field section. So here are all the fields available on this specific item. Notice that it has an object type field name with a field value of message. Pretty cool, right? Now let's see what this has to do with the facet. So I will copy its name and the @ symbol. I will close the panel and I will clear my facet. As mentioned at the beginning of this lesson, it is possible to find items using their content or their metadata. To find items using their metadata, you have to use the @ operator, followed by the name of a field. By placing the @ operator followed by the name of a field, it's exactly the same as saying, find all items that have a field with that specific name. In other words, the @ operator allows you to perform what is called a field query. In this case, I will use the field we saw previously, so I enter object type into the search box and press enter. Now we can see that there's much less items in the result list. This is because this is all the items that I have access to and that have a field that is called object type. Proof, if I scroll down at the bottom of the page and then open the debug panel on this specific item using the Option key because I'm using a Mac, there, we can see that it does contain a field that is called object type. Pretty cool, right? All right, let's close this and go back at the top. Well, things are about to get even more interesting. By using the equal sign, it is possible to find all items who have a specific field name, for example, object type, and a specific value inside that field. For example, @object type is equal to message, and press enter. Now I only see items that have an object type field and for which the value inside the object type field is equal to message. Proof, if I once again bring up the debug panel on any of these results like this one, we can see that the object type field does contain the value message. Notice also that in here, the value is spelled with a capital M. Well, this proves that when you are performing a field search, it is not case sensitive. Let's go back to the interface. Just as with keywords, it is possible to use multiple field query expressions inside the search box. For example, let's say I would like to find all items with a field of object type that contains message and that have a date that is no older than a week. To do so, I would add to my query right here, @date greater or equal now -7 and press enter. Indeed, because I know that the date field contains a date, I know that the Coveo platform will understand the now keyword that I just entered. And in doing so, it will return all the items with a date that is no further in the past than 7 days. Proof: if I select this item and open the debug panel, we can see that its date field does contain a date that is no longer than 7 days in the past from the moment I recorded this video, of course. Furthermore, just like with keywords, you can use the OR query syntax operator to refine your research. By adding an OR between these two expressions and pressing enter, I now get all the items that have an object type that contains message, or all the items that have a date field that is no further than 7 days in the past. Pretty cool, right? Well, it's even better than that. It's possible to chain keywords and field query inside a search box. In doing so, you would be asking the Coveo platform, find all the items whose content contain these keywords and whose metadata contain these field names and values. For example, if I add Canada and press enter, we now see all the items that I have access to, whose content contains the keyword Canada, and whose metadata contains the field object type with a value of message, or with metadata field called date, which contain a date that is no longer than 7 days in the past. This is the most important thing you have to remember about field queries and free text queries. Free text queries is when you enter one or more keyword in the search box. It will return all the items whose content contain these keywords. And the content of an item is composed of all of its free text field. On the other hand, field query is when you use the @ operator followed by a field name available on the interface. It will return all the items who have that specific field name. It is also possible to request for all items with fields that contain or match specific values. For example, @object_type is equal to message will return all items with a field name object type whose value contains the keyword message. Now, one last thing before we end this lesson. The equal operator is a synonym of contains. This means that if a field value you are looking for is anywhere inside the field, then it will be returned. However, if you want to find items with only an exact match to a field value, so for example, find all items whose object type is exactly message. Now this would include all items with object type internal message, external message, private message, etc. It would only return items with an object type that is exactly message. To do so, you would need to use the double equal operator. This operator is the same thing as saying find all items whose field object type is exactly message.